Movie anti-heroes. They're the guys we root for, even though some of their actions are, shall we say, questionable. Some are self-destructive, mentally unstable, haunted by a dark past, or just plain psychotic. It's no surprise that many of these characters are gangsters and outlaws.
You ever been in jail, Tony?
Me? Jail? No way.
Al Pacino has played two of the most iconic gangsters in film history.
I watched the guys like Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney.
And although they couldn't be more different, both fit the anti-hero mold perfectly.
Do you renounce Satan?
Pacino's portrayal of Michael Corleone in the first two Godfather films is simply one of the greatest performances of all time. He starts out as an all-American college boy, but ends up as a ruthless head of the Corleone crime empire, terrifying not just his enemies, but his own family. Taking sibling rivalry to a whole new level. Tony Montana, on the other hand, isn't as intellectually savvy as Michael Corleone.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
But he's just as ruthless when dealing with rivals or even those closest to him. His paranoia wreaks havoc on his sister's dating life, which doesn't end well for his best friend. Meanwhile, his trophy wife, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, does have the good sense to walk out before the film's bloody and iconic climax.
Say hello to my little friend!
And while we're on Pacino, it would be rude not to mention Robert De Niro, another legend who's played protagonists with highly questionable morals.
You talking to me?
Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver is more of an oddball than a true anti-hero. A lot of his actions, talking to himself in the mirror, practicing to be a tough guy, or taking Sybil Shepherd into an adult movie, are more awkward than sinister.
There are other places I can take you. Plenty of other movies I can take you to. I don't know much about them, but I can take you other places.
Which is different.
But when he finally unleashes his violent rage at the end, let's be honest, the guys he takes out had it coming.
We all have it coming, Keitel.
The legend of De Niro was cemented with his Oscar-winning role as a volatile boxer, Jake LaMotta, in his fourth collaboration with Martin Scorsese. LaMotta isn't a million miles away from Tony Montana. Both are driven by rage and paranoia, carrying chips on both shoulders that ultimately lead to the self-destruction, mentally and physically. Any sympathy you might have for him evaporates after the spousal abuse he inflicts on his wife and the violence towards his brother.
Why don't you stop that, huh? Stop it!
Shut up!
Then there's Once Upon a Time in America, Sergio Leone's masterpiece, where De Niro's Noodles is a textbook definition of an anti-hero. Early in the film, Noodles is portrayed by Scott Tyler, who makes the ultimate sacrifice by saving his friends from a would-be assassin, doing serious time after killing a cop in the chaos. But when he gets out, now played by De Niro, and rejoins his old gang as a bootlegger, we see his true nature. He develops a very nasty habit of, rape. Not just once, but twice. In fact, next to Noodles, Travis Bickle looks like an Uber driver. Harvey Keitel is no stranger to the anti-hero world. And a lot of his characters aren't exactly the kind you'd invite to your barbecue. None more so than LT, aka the Bad Lieutenant. Now there's a cop who could use some counseling.
My time is reserved for police officers with real needs and real problems. Have you got that?
LT has a serious drug and gambling addiction, rage issues, and some severely repressed sexual anxiety.
You do something for me, and I'll do something for you. What do you say about that?
Or put it bluntly, he pulls a Louis C.K. Except he doesn't ask for permission. Sergio Leone's classic, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, is packed with anti-heroes. But it's Eli Wallach's electric performance as Tuco that steals the show.
So you're an honest farmer. You recognize this man?
Despite his long rap sheet, you still root for the little guy, especially after he teams up with Eastwood's Blondie and gets a severe beating from Lee Van Cleef's Heavy. Tuco actually gets more screen time than Eastwood, and to me, he's a real protagonist. He certainly has the best lines.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Sam Peckinpah, Hollywood's original bad boy, was a master of crafting anti-heroes. His characters were deeply flawed, haunted by their pasts, and often used brutal methods to get what they wanted.
If they move, kill them.
None more so than William Holden's Pike in The Wild Bunch.
I either lead this bunch or end it right now.
As the leader of an unruly gang of outlaws, Pike has no problem killing innocent civilians, if they get in his way. And that includes his own crew. But as they whore and shoot their way in and out of trouble, they ultimately come together to do the right thing, which of course ends in a classic Peckinpah bloodbath.
Pretty strong meat there from Sam Peckinpah.
No list of anti-heroes would be complete without mentioning Stanley Kubrick's infamous A Clockwork Orange, a film so controversial that it was withdrawn from British cinemas by Kubrick himself.
He withdrew it on the advice of Scotland Yard because his family and himself got death threats, and so he decided, and they advised him to withdraw the film, which he did, and he took it sort of literally forever, you know, and of course when he died, you know, they re-released it.
Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of gang leader Alex DeLarge remains one of Kubrick's most iconic characters, as he unleashes acts of ultra-violence alongside his droogs.
It changed the social fabric, not only of films, but music, fashion, stuff like this. You know, the punk rock movement is spawned in this movie.
His horrific rehabilitation seems to make him aware of the brutal life he's led. But, does it?
I was cured, all right.
Another film accused of inspiring a wave of copycat killings was Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers.
I viewed it as an answer to what the media was becoming, that it was becoming so sensationalized. If you remember, there was a series of murders, and they were prominent. They were taking over the news. Sensationalism became the menu of the day.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Its central characters, Mickey and Mallory, played by Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis, go on a killing spree after murdering Mallory's abusive parents.
You never did nothing.
One of the film's most vocal critics was actually its original writer, Quentin Tarantino, who was so unhappy with the rewrites that he encouraged his fans to boycott the movie.
I've never sat down and watched the movie from beginning to end. All right, I went to the theaters once to see it, and then the scene that I'm going to say was so bad that I had to leave. Me and Oliver have made up, though.
All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall.
Gene Hackman's Oscar-winning performance as real-life detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection and its sequel set the standard for gritty cop movies. Based on real NYPD detective Eddie Egan, who even appears in the film as Doyle's supervisor, Popeye is relentless in his pursuit of justice, no matter the cost. He's also a borderline racist, directly responsible for the deaths of 2 undercover officers, albeit accidentally. And his approach to witness intimidation is, let's just say, effective. Yet despite all of this, we're 100% behind him as he hunts down French drug smuggler Alain Charnier, played by Fernando Rey. And it helps that the first film features one of the greatest car chases in movie history. If there's one star who defined the cinematic antihero, it's Clint Eastwood. Off the back of his Dollars trilogy fame, many of his roles, especially in westerns, were morally complex. Of them all, High Plains Drifter's Stranger is the most controversial. He's a near-mythic figure with zero love for the town he rides into. Minutes after arriving, he kills several gunslingers. And rapes a local woman.
What did you say your name was again?
No wonder John Wayne took exception to the film and made sure Eastwood knew it.
I remember Don Siegel got in trouble when he was doing a film called The Shootist. Working with John Wayne, the villain sneaks around the room and John Wayne comes up behind him. And Don made a terrible error. He said Clint Eastwood would have shot him in the back. And he said Wayne turned blue.
Mister, you better find yourself another line of work.
The stranger forces the townsfolk to paint the town red.
You can't possibly mean the church, too.
I mean especially the church.
And blows up anyone who dare stand up to him. And he also has a way with the town's hotel manager.
No, let go.
He really does have a way with a woman, this guy.
Yeah, I'd love to oblige you, but man's gotta get his rest sometime.
The film was one of the great revisionist westerns, and its central character set the stage for Eastwood's other mythical character, the preacher in Pale Rider.
Mr. Carter in the room. Yeah.
But of all the movie antiheroes, my personal favourite is Jack Carter. Probably Michael Caine's greatest lead performance. Since its release in 1971, Get Carter has become a cult classic. It's insanely quotable.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape.
And consistently ranked among the best British films ever made. Carter is a ruthless East End gangster who returns to his grim hometown of Newcastle to uncover the truth behind his brother's death.
Who killed Frank, Margaret?
He manipulates, uses, and disposes of anyone who gets in his way.
You don't care a stuff, do you?
He follows his own twisted moral code.
They are so powerful that they are right, and you are wrong. That's what it is about that.
And we only go along with him because the people he takes revenge on are even worse. He's both quietly terrifying and effortlessly charming. Some of his one-liners feel straight out of the Charlie Croker playbook.
Now what would you like?
Everything.
I'll bet this has seen some action, hasn't it?
But with Carter, he doesn't even need to speak. One look for him is enough to put the fear of God into you. The violence in Get Carter is brief but brutal, and Carter doesn't discriminate.
Oh, God, Jack, God!
He'll take down men or women if they cross him. Caine himself has described Carter as the ghost of who he could have been. Growing up in London's East End, he knew people like Jack Carter. People who, if life had gone differently, he could have become.
I thought, I know enough gangsters. I just want to be an actor, you know, and be quite simple and quiet, and I'm not going to hit anybody or slash anybody with a razor.
Thank God he chose acting instead. The idea of a real-life Jack Carter is a terrifying proposition.